Welcome back to Cheche. Today's guest is opposition leader Martha Karua, leader of the NARC Kenya party. She says we lack proper leadership in the country. The proof is in the amount of corruption we're witnessing. And we were talking, we've talked about this, but of course, there are also corruption allegations hanging over you. You're alleged to have collected money from BAT, British American Tobacco, in order to influence legislation.
I would call it a far-fetched allegation, but yes, it is there. My campaign was the very first presidential campaign to launch a public fundraising. And this individual gave money to my fundraisers as a personal donation. So the first time I hear it's supposed to be BAT money is when the allegation comes in the Independent. And yes, I met, and I didn't deny it because I was aware that the individual gave about 2 million shillings. It could be 1.5 because I'm told the first time it was 1 million, then 500. But I thought my memory was telling me something like 2 million, collected by my secretariat. But the allegation that it was so that I influenced contracts, this is the tail end of 2012. I ceased being a minister in 2009. Even if I was a minister, KRA never fell under me at any time. I call it a far-fetched allegation. And I've been challenging the government on Twitter, the ODPP, and any other agency. I did so through a press conference. You are the ones with machinery to investigate. So when we tell you government is corrupt, stop saying also you. This is not a nursery rhyme. Go out, investigate, and prosecute. Prosecute me if there is a single shred of evidence that I've engaged in corruption or in bribery.
So is it also far-fetched for the Gatundu MP, Moses Kuria, to implicate you in the fixing of the ICC trial of the Deputy President, William Ruto?
Obviously. I mean, it doesn't take rocket science to even see the timing. If at all that was the case, why would they wait for so long when they are almost concluding their cases at ICC? I'll not go far into that because I've already taken it to court. We are waiting for the hearing. Not every allegation about a person is true. And even the way the Independent reported that article.
This is the UK newspaper?
Yes, and I am pursuing them in the UK. They had put the word in quotes. Although that was the wrong reporting that made the Kenyan media now make it. You know, they actually now reported as though it were. And that report was saying it is not clear whether I knew. And I have come out to say no demands were actually made on me by anyone to do anything for them. I was not even aware of the contract.
How would I know? That employee of BAT, why was he contributing to your campaign?
Just like anybody else, lots of people contributed whom I didn't know.
Not foreigners?
Lots of people contributed, and it was through the way I was told by the contact in my secretariat who brought the donation. He was introduced to her through a family friend. And then when she explained what we were doing and the way we were, we were fundraising, he made the donation. And then he requested to see me, and he was brought to see me a couple of weeks later.
And when he came to see you, what discussion
did you have? He just introduced himself. It was less than 5 minutes talk, and he did not make a single demand on me.
So why did he want to see you?
Just to be introduced, and he said he was happy with our policies of fighting corruption because it would improve business environment. And lots of people contribute because they like your stand and your policies. So I didn't question it.
If you had known at the point it was made that it was from BAT,
we would not even
would you have had any issues with it?
In a way, yes, a corporate donation.
You weren't taking corporate donations?
I did not receive any corporate donation in my campaign, so it would have raised a red flag. And then you would... He also did not tell me he was working for BAT. He said he consults for BAT. You see? So there was no connection in my knowledge of the money that he contributed to my campaign and VAT, because if you tell me you work at Citizen and you make your donation to my campaign, that doesn't mean it belongs to Citizen. So I'm saying, because I hear people in government, when the opposition tells them they are corrupt, saying also you. For goodness sake, it is your job to investigate any allegation of corruption, whether from the opposition or government. And it's the work of your agencies to also prosecute. So instead of saying also you, get busy, investigate, prosecute. Otherwise we will take it that you're trying to cast a cloud on people's names, and also to bring in this narrative, because that's what I said in my December press conference. Jubilee is peddling a narrative that we are all corrupt, it can't be helped, you know. So the answer to their corruption allegations is that can't be helped, we are all corrupt. Okay. There are very many Kenyans who are not corrupt, and I want to say I am not corrupt. If you allege I am, investigate, prove it, and take me to court. Okay.
You deny these corruption allegations, but so do all these other people who are implicated.
But I am saying, take me to court. Investigate. Remember, I'm the one who called for investigations. And the same day, KRA responded saying they have instituted investigations. The Kenyan authorities did not say they had instituted investigations. It's only when the corruption allegations against the NYS ministry came up that I now see the Office of the Attorney General saying they have contacted the Serious Fraud Office. And I'm asking seriously, 2 months after the matter came up is when you're writing. You're late, hurry up.
Isn't it true that all political parties and candidates will usually get either approaches from interested, whether it is corporates, even governments that have a stake in the election.
Government?
And and I want to take you back, why actually government particularly. When you are in the, I don't know whether it was the NAC formation, leading up to 2002 elections, the Kibaki campaign, didn't it get some money from some foreign governments which had an interest as well as corporates? And therefore, this matter that people will approach you and they'll give you money because they think you're good for their business or they'll get contracts under you is a global practice. And
actually, there would be nothing wrong with a corporate contributing, but there is everything wrong with a contribution for furthering an illegal purpose. Supporting people to capture power so that their policies, you think their policies will be good for you, is legitimate. But to allege
not for business too,
I have received money to influence a contract, and I'm going to ask how.
And the distinction you're making is the knowledge, that there's explicit knowledge of the fact that I'm receiving this money in order to do A, B, C, and D.
If it is to implement the policies I've stated publicly, that's okay, because you are supporting the stand. But if it is to do an illegal thing, like to influence a contract, that is criminal. And therefore I'm saying don't allege, investigate, prosecute.
One of the accusations against Hillary Clinton now is her attachment to Wall Street. Her rival is saying that she's very much pro-business.
But that's not a criminal accusation. That's a political criticism, which we all do. I will attack the policies of the opposite party. I don't think there may be some instances where they are being accused of conflict of interest. That is against the law. But being pro-business is not a criminal thing. It's just like being pro-poor. It's also not criminal. My party espouses social justice. So if someone accuses me that I'm pro-poor, then it will be
an endorsement. It's a very dicey line there, because in the case of BAT, for example, if you use the word pro-business, there can be a general business dimension.
I'm talking of Hillary Clinton.
Oh, Hillary Clinton.
Go to BAT.
But that's what I'm saying. It could be that they had intentions which were unknown to you. But of course, as you know that if somebody came and said they consult, and then they consult for BAT, and those are companies that use lobbyists to get their matters and policies favorable to them against the anti-tobacco campaigns around the world, it could come from a long distance. The question then would be, and we should have tried to answer, is whether you knew this person was approaching you with that background, and whether the contribution was in anticipation, therefore. Which is the distinction you're trying to create, right?
I am saying money was given to my campaign. He comes and meets me later. He introduces himself. He says he's a security consultant. A consultant consults not for one person but for many. And he says he does some work with VAT. But the donation that came was reported as a personal donation. And that's the impression he gives me. And he does not make a single demand. He doesn't say, I am here so that you help me. You see? Because then if he said that, I would obviously have rejected. I actually want to say that there are Kenyans who know I rejected their money because they came with suggestions. And there is also one Kenyan who sent a donation through a mutual friend. I rejected it because there were issues relating to their company that were recurrent in Parliament. I could smell conflict from a distance. So I returned the money. And it became known that I had rejected the money from that particular individual who had perennial issues in Parliament, because I was very active on the floor. And you don't want to have to talk about somebody who's donated to your campaign. I actually had a clean money policy, so there's no way I would have picked money from someone who is demanding that I do something illegal. And you might as well wonder, in my 20-year career as a member of Parliament, 6 of them as a minister, in charge of ministries of votes, in charge of an infrastructure ministry as water, could I have avoided corruption all those years to wait for a small donation to my campaign, which cannot even cover a county, to break my ethical way of doing business? Those are the issues someone should be asking.
Right. You know, your story reminds me of Jaramogi Oginga.
And the 5 million.
And the partner, when he went there, a young man was brought to me. He gave me this money. He did not know it was a...
he thought it was a patriotic Kenyan.
Yes.
I genuinely believed him, actually. I think he was genuine. He didn't know. But those who took the man to him may or may not have known.
Okay. Is there a double standard, though? Because if we're talking about corruption and the failure of leadership to address corruption, is there also a failure on the opposition side? Because we seem to see a double standard, which is that you're shouting from the rooftops about, corruption that involves the governing side. But if there's any sort of, whiff of doubt, within opposition ranks, we don't see you turning around and saying, you need to go.
Go where? The people
You're
who
not
need to
condemning
go are the ones.
Opposition ranks.
What I'm saying, you cannot say that in opposition you say you need to go. Go where? Going somewhere is people holding public office.
Like governors.
You
opposition
see?
governors, for instance.
Let me say NARC Kenya has no governor, because I'm a spokesperson of NARC Kenya, not of every political party.
That certainly is true, but you also are affiliated with the main opposition coalition.
I am in opposition and affiliated to the opposition, but I cannot arrogate myself to be a spokesperson of any other party.
You're not a spokesperson,
but
Madam Karua, but you're a leader.
I will say this, that anybody implicated in corruption, if you are in public office as governor, yes, you will need to step aside for investigations.
Okay.
If you are in public office, we do not investigate from which side you come from. You see? Everybody needs to go. And if you remember...
I'll ask you plainly, do you think that the Nairobi governor, Evans Kidero, should step aside?
With the allegation in the Tunoi case? Yes. Because what actually ought to happen, we shouldn't just focus on the removal of Tunoi. Bribery is a criminal offense. He must be under investigation, and the due process must take place. And I think the investigators are at his door. I saw a court case where surprisingly the court stopped investigation of his accounts I didn't understand that, but...
and have you communicated this then?
He is the one who went to court and stayed.
Yes.
It is not my business to police.
No, just a minute. Have you then spoken to the opposition leader, Raila Odinga, to say, as an opposition, there is something problematic within your ranks, you need to address it?
No, I think it cannot be my duty. I do not think that you would move, even with your best friend, to tell them how to order their house. You see, you must leave people to go through their processes. And I remember
Why won't you leave President Kenyatta to go through his processes?
Because he owes me. As a person elected in Kenya, he owes me. You see? Just like I owe to the rank and file in Kenya as an elected leader to conduct their business, and they can hold me to account. But as a party leader, remember, I'm not formally in the court coalition, but we are friends of God.
But you are a resident of Nairobi, and the Kendero is your governor.
I am a resident of Nairobi, and already the matter is under investigation. So why should I be on it? There is investigation with many governors. The governor of Bungoma was at the anti-corruption thing the other day. Actually, you can count 10, 12 governors who are being questioned. My stand, I don't want to say Kidero, I don't want to say Lusaka, I don't want to say the other one. I just want to say anybody against whom an investigation has been opened as a result of credible allegations, the law is very clear. They ought to step aside to facilitate investigations.
Are you merely concerned then with the sort of grand corruption we see nationally and not necessarily corruption at the county level? Because we say it's been devolved now.
I'm concerned about corruption anywhere. And I will say this again, that wherever there is a case of corruption, a credible case of corruption, the mandate to investigate and prosecute is with government agencies. Therefore, the buck stops with the government. And why there is runaway corruption everywhere, from the national to the county governments, is because the national government has sort of shown indifference to corruption cases. And the county is looking at what is happening at the national. And the corruption is not just with the elected leaders, it's also with the staff. So once we show reluctance to enforce, then it becomes a free-for-all. And that is what we are seeing in this country today.
So, for instance, you're calling out President Kenyatta for poor leadership, but if we went to your home county, Kirinyaga, where you were an MP for 20 years, what do you do to keep your county government accountable? Because they've also had their own problems.
What I do to keep my county government accountable, I would encourage the population there, because I am not going to spend my time shuttling between Nairobi and Kirinyaga to sort of police. And there is a limit to what a person can do. I can highlight the cases. Remember, they are elected leaders there. They are the county assembly. But unfortunately, most of the county assemblies, just like our national parliament, are more concerned about their welfare than their mandate of being a watchdog. The watchdog role in Kenya has been lost. And you have seen, even like in the NYS scandal, we are now getting it, that the loot went to even members of parliament belonging to both the opposition and parliament. We do not know in what circumstances. So that is the replica in almost all the counties. If I was the president of Kenya, you can ask me what I'm doing about particular specific counties, including my home county. I do not have the machinery to police and to enforce the law.
So what's
the buck stops with the government?
Can we stay with Kirinyaga
and
for a
the
moment before we...
And the buck stops with you and with the next person. And I have no role above the next citizen to become the police general of every other corrupt case. But I can play my role by highlighting any known case of corruption. And if I know of any, I have not been brought facts. You see, I'm sure there are many corruption allegations we don't know. Nobody has brought to my attention.
But it's all been out there in the media in the same way that you're commenting about. Okay.
I'm commenting about Bungoma because the wheelbarrows, like I had said, became a matter of national interest because mainly of the response of the governor that they were anti-carcinogenic. So that's what one remembers. We will remember cases that are interesting. We will remember Nairobi because there are cases that are going on.
Kirinyaga was interesting because the county paid about 1.2 million shillings for a Facebook account.
Oh, I saw that.
Yes.
I saw that.
I believe there was also a case.
At 1.2
million shillings.
Well, one would want to know, is it just for the Facebook account or is it a consultant for social media? Because then it wouldn't be a lot of money.
Yes, their argument when they were challenged about this, their argument was that it was broader communication services, because they did not have a communication office at the time. I think there was also something about a bridge being constructed, a powerful bridge or something, which again was excessive.
It hasn't come to my attention, and there are two things. One, as a leader, I will not jump at every case merely because it is reported. You have to get a little bit of information to know that is a credible allegation against, you see. So we will not jump and label everything.
I want to challenge you, Mheshimiwa, because you, although you say you are just like the other next citizen, maybe with higher awareness, but you are a leader, an aspirant for presidency, a lawyer, a person who has served lots of roles. Isn't there an alternative that perhaps you can initiate or lead that can confront that animal, rather than just the standard everybody that everybody is doing, highlighting, pressing the government or the agencies to do something, and they will not do it?
They are the ones.
There were days, and I know the more activist days of the law society, when you were fighting for multi-party democracy. People would go to court and take up public interest litigation. They would agitate. They would seek even private prosecution.
It would be too much to expect me to use my money to go and prosecute anyone, which means that you also will have used money to investigate. I think we must not, as leaders,
I think what David is suggesting is leading an initiative.
But you can mastermind an initiative which could be civil society, sponsored. The partners, allies fighting corruption can get together and put resources together to champion this cause, to provide alternative solutions to corruption. Because if we, at the rest, where you have reached, it's hands up. We can only do that, and that's it.
It is happening. There are people who go to court for violations of the Constitution, because really these are shared roles, because they're happening, at the citizens' level. But to mount a prosecution for corruption, it will require investigations, it will require you being documentation, which most likely is with the government. And I am saying we must not try to establish a parallel government. We must hold our government to account. That is our constitutional duty. Force them to action. And those of us in politics, tell Kenyans that if you elected us, we would do better. Show the face of alternative. And you don't think that is
one way of forcing government to act? Because you remember the famous days of Amos Wako, where people take up private prosecution, they go to court, he'll go and enter and prosecute. If you did that, wouldn't you be forcing the same government to take action on those people that we are saying they're only charging them with funny charges? Because some of this information, by the way, may not require investigation. If you open up a bureau to receive information on corruption, you'll be amazed. Perhaps you'll be even overwhelmed. You not need even further investigations, because people will just dominate the documents that you need to prosecute. I think
that is misleading the public to suggest that the opposition or any one agency can open a bureau to receive criminal allegations. You cannot summon those people to record statements. You cannot order them to produce documents. And if you go and prosecute somebody without proper documentation and investigation, you're going to incur charges of malicious prosecution, even in a well-merited case. Civil cases are easy to launch, like when the government has violated the constitution, and you've seen them being launched by various agencies. The only criminal prosecution I remember during Moi time, prominent one, was the one mounted against Saitoti for Goldenberg, and the AG entered a nolle prosequi. You see, it is very difficult, and I don't even think it could have gone very far.
That brings me to the question. Are you, in your view, satisfied with the operations of the CID and the DPP? Because the criminal justice system is like a chain.
No, it leaves a lot to be desired, and I express this a lot even on Twitter, both agencies, because the pace again, and also selective. I actually say we are practicing double standards in the application of the law. If you go to inflammatory utterances, you see that there are certain people belonging to the Jubilee coalition who have lately made very inflammatory statements, actually criminal statements. They have not been prosecuted. Yes, there are prosecutions of both Jubilee and opposition, mainly CORD supporters, but there are specific cases, inflammatory statements by Jubilee operatives yet to be prosecuted. So you see the law is being used as a political tool, and that should not be.
What about in terms of corruption?
In terms of corruption.
Sorry, let's come back to that just so that we can spend more time on double standards after this break. This is Cheche. We're live on Citizen TV. Do keep sending us your thoughts and questions for North Kenya Party Leader Martha Karua. Our SMS number is 22422, or you can tweet us using the hashtag Cheche.